Today on the show, it's a new standard year, and we've fired our propagandists. They weren't up to snuff, okay? Let's talk about where we've been and where this highliner of a podcast is headed.
Welcome to Gom Jabbar, your guide to the iconic world of Dune. We'll be exploring the themes, philosophies, and characters found in the sandy depths of this vast universe, from Frank Herbert's groundbreaking novels to the adaptations on film and TV. My name is Leo.
And my name's Abu.
Today on the show, we are greeting the new year with open arms.
That we are.
Sliggy, slimy open arms. We are worm-sized on a royal cart, and we are excited.
Yes.
For another year of the Golden Path. And we're excited. We're excited to talk today about
excited.
kind of where we're at, where we're going, all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, we started this tradition last year where we had our first State of the Imperium, and we basically kind of openly talked about things that you don't hear a lot of creators and podcasters talk about. Like, we shared what our download numbers were. We talked about money and how much we make, how much we spend, all that stuff. And we sort of shared with you, our listeners, and our supporters, what our goals are for the year and what we're hoping to achieve and where we see this show going, and kind of letting you in behind the curtain on the how, why, what, when, where of this show. So we're continuing that tradition today. This is our second official State of the Imperium. We're going to talk about how 2024 went for us. And yes, we're going to talk about numbers, we're going to talk about money, and we're going to let you in behind the curtain of Gom Jabbar.
So here's the plan. We're going to talk through, as you said, some numbers behind Gom Jabbar. We're going to talk about downloads. We'll talk about how much money we make, because again, I promise you, dear listener, not Golden Thrones, not in this house. And we're going to share our goals for 2025. And this is what I think is really exciting. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Honestly, this might be this. I mean, it's going to be a quiet year for Dune stuff, but I'm like, this is not going to be a quiet year for Gom Jabbar stuff.
Agreed. Yes, I'm very excited.
Yeah, very, very excited.
I think we're both kind of getting. Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. Well, so let's do it. Let's get into it, and let's start off by talking about the numbers.
Yes. Let's get into the juicy bit, the somewhat uncomfortable bit. You know, last year we started this tradition, and we want to continue being very transparent in a way that many other creators and shows aren't, for two main reasons, honestly. One, so that our listeners and our supporters have context for the size and scale of this podcast, and to know genuinely how much your contributions, no matter how small, truly, truly help keep this show running.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. The second reason we share these numbers is that so other podcasters and just online creators can get sort of an honest sense of things like numbers and money, which can be so elusive and feel impossible to like get a grasp of when you're young or when you're just starting out.
Yeah.
So anyway, we are going to tell you what our experience is like. You can't transplant our experience one for one onto whatever project or passion you might be pursuing, but it can give you a sense of what the online creator landscape might be like.
So let's talk about download numbers and audience size. So here is this is where we're at since last year.
Yeah.
Last year, we released about 4 episodes a month, and a typical month for Gom Jabbar regarding monthly downloads is in the 40 to 50,000 downloads a month. Just altogether pretty damn good. I remember
That's healthy.
When we broke 20 for the first time, 20,000, and I was like so excited. I think we were in a car to Lawrence's wedding, and it was like, oh my God, it's real. It's really happening. And then now
felt like an impossible number.
Now we're hovering almost, twice that, which is great. 40 to 50,000 downloads a month. 2024 was a bit unique. Naturally, it had 2 huge things that helped us out quite a bit. I always joke that the hundreds of millions of dollars of advertising and all, and I'm like, oh, it's so nice of them to promote this thing that our show depends on, and that is, of course, Dune Part 2, and
Hello.
then HBO Dune Prophecy.
Hello.
Dune Part 2 brought some absolutely crazy numbers
This
in the
was
spring,
just, my God. Yeah.
which was really humbling to see how many people were kind of checking us out. And then also humbling when many of those people stopped checking us out. But basically, because of the critical and commercial success of the film, we actually broke 200,000 downloads for multiple months, which
Yeah.
is crazy. I mean, that is when you think about like the biggest podcasts out there, that's that ballpark, right?
Right.
We also got to number 3 in the books category on Apple Podcasts charts, which was fucking crazy. To go to the books category and to see us in the top, just like literally on the
Above the fold, no scrolling required.
no
We're just
scrolling
right
required, Gom Jabbar right there was, I mean, I didn't even think to dream of it, but it's a dream come true. Also, we were in I believe the top 20 of the arts category, which is a massive category.
Yes, I believe we hit 8. So we hit single digits in the overall arts category as well.
Which is crazy. I mean, the fact that because we were alongside, like I was seeing NPR and New York
Yeah.
Times lower on the list than us. And it was like, this is surreal. Now, naturally, that falls off as we kind of knew it would. And the same
course.
thing basically happened with the first movie. But nevertheless, that was huge.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in November and December, we had the HBO series, which was about 100,000, a little bit more than 100,000 downloads per month because of our Dune Prophecy coverage. We were releasing a deluge of content, and that, of course, bumped those numbers up as well as the collaborations with Quinn, Ideas of Ice and Fire, and Elaine, Nerd Cookies, helped out as well. And all of that, stepping back, just means that 2024, in so many ways, was a record-breaking year for us. It was the best year that we've ever had so far. We actually crossed, for the year, we crossed 1 million downloads for the year, which is...
Say it again, Leo.
1 million downloads for the year. Welcome to my new ASMR channel. We're just going to be talking about the number. Here's my coffee cup. The number 1 million. I'm going to slowly count to 1 million. 1, 2, 3.
I will slowly get closer to the edge. It'll take 1 million seconds, but we'll get there.
We will get there. That's a long time. 1 million seconds is a long time. Nevertheless, that is crazy. That is a huge milestone. The fact that we did that is incredible. And this is after 4 years of the show being live. So really, really humbling. And of course, also the placing on the charts and
wild.
Yeah, it was
big year.
Yeah, it was a huge year. And we'll say thank you a lot of times this episode, but thank you everyone for every like person you recommended the show to, and like that is what drives that, and it is beyond words, like that feeling.
Yeah, and I'm proud of us too. An incredible achievement. 4 years, and we had never had a 1 million download year. We had come close some years, but we had never crossed that 1 million mark until we were in 2024 in our 4th year of the show. So that was an incredible achievement. And 2024, truly, as you stated, was an amazing year for us. So let's talk about the other side of the equation, the money, the other numbers y'all might be wondering about. How does all of that, how does a great 2024 translate into money? Because at the end of the day, as much fun as we have on mic, Gom Jabbar is a business, and we have business goals. We have to make enough money to keep the lights on. And now that we have a team, we have to make enough money to pay the team. So let's get into some of the numbers specifically. Gom Jabbar brings in around $3,000 per month of revenue, which comes from 5 main sources: Patreon, ad revenue, sponsors, tips, and merch sales.
Yeah.
Those are the 5 main places that we bring in income from. Patrons account for a huge, huge majority of that $3,000 income that
Yeah.
comes in every month. And specifically, what I mean by that is that from Patreon, we make $2,000 per month. So when we say every episode, we thank our patrons at the top, and almost every episode, we say, you are the reason, your support is the reason that this show keeps running. You built the foundation upon which this show runs. That is what we mean by that.
Yeah.
A vast majority of our income comes from Patreon. Without that solid income, truthfully speaking, we would be able to pay the bills, but we'd struggle. And we certainly wouldn't be able to pay any sort of team to help us make the show.
Right. Yeah.
So if you've ever wondered, like, where does my Patreon money go? It goes to literally keeping the show running.
Yeah. And again, like to stress, when an episode takes 20 to 25 hours of work per episode, the way that we make this show and the amount of research and the amount of work that the scripts take and the amount of editing, it's like the team that we've built up frees us to do more creative, engaged things where we're doing more, like we are getting to create new content and stuff like that. And that's great. So if we didn't have the team, we'd have more take home pocket money, but we'd be literally back to the just the incalculable hours, doing the basic stuff.
Everything ourselves.
Yeah.
And speaking of that team, why we were able to hire them was because over the course of 2024, thanks to some big waves, again, thanks to Dune Part 2 and Dune Prophecy, we saw our revenue increase month to month because more people signed up to be patrons and support us month to month. And we finally, after years of just the two of us grinding on this show, had the budget to hire on important team members in important roles. There's Declan, who you likely won't hear on episodes because he's our audio editor. He's cutting stuff. You will hear his work. And then there's Luna, who we've mentioned a few times during our prophecy coverage. Luna is our assistant producer, who will likely be sort of in and out of the show over the course of her time with us. Those two important people are paid because of the increase of revenue from Patreon, point blank.
Yes. And that team that we've kind of brought on, Luna and Declan, they've enabled a lot of what you've heard the last 3 or 4 months because, again, without their support, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Yes.
Now, if you've ever wondered where exactly your money is going, this is kind of the monthly breakdown. About half of that $3,000 a month goes to pay our team members, the various, again, Luna, Declan. A couple hundred goes to paying bills like our cloud storage and the tools we use to record and live stream, the kind of technological costs of running this sort of production.
Right.
And then once those things are covered, once those things are paid, whatever is left from the 3,000 is split down the middle and paid out to us, basically.
That's the simple breakdown of our income and expenses every single month and how they get divided up, how that pie gets divided up. And to put some more numbers and put some more of that into context for you, if you're wondering, our team members and, those fuckers at Google who charge us for cloud storage all get paid, obviously, the same amount every month, regardless of what happens with the show. Our income for Leo, you and I, fluctuates with the show. So that, again, goes back to the download numbers we were talking about earlier, or occasionally throughout the year, we sign a deal with a sponsor. So if we have a big wave like Dune Part 2, our numbers are blowing up. Or if we sign a big sponsorship deal like we did with Lego at the start of 2024, or like we did with HBO at the end of 2024, obviously, Leo, you and I will see a bump in our income because we will be caught up in that wave as well. The inverse is also true. During a leaner month where download numbers are sticking around the average or even dipping, our income will also dip and we will make less. So, for example, let's attach numbers to those scenarios. During our biggest months in 2024, when we were breaking 200,000 downloads, we were covering Dune Part 2, we were interviewing Patrice Vermette, had a sponsorship deal with Lego. During months like that, Leo, you and I were getting, after bills and team members were all paid, you and I were getting checks that were like as much as $2,000, $3,000, which is amazing. I never
Yeah.
expected to make that kind of money from a show like this.
Yeah.
Of course, months like that only literally come around like once or twice a year.
Right.
The rest of the year, the other 10 months of the year, look more like the average, that typical 40 to 50,000 downloads per month, no big sponsorship. And in that scenario, for the rest of the year, we're typically getting paid out again. Once team members and bills are paid, what's left over for us to divide between the two of us, we're probably each getting checks that are more like $500 to $800 each when
Yeah.
all is said and done.
That sort of like feast or famine thing is very real. I, for what it's worth, like the Lego sponsorship was like $7,000, which is, and then again, like that is on top of our normal take home money. So
Yeah.
you think that that's added then to the amount that we divide between ourselves. That was like a crazy windfall and really, really great. But then you have those months where it's $800 a month that you get in your paycheck from Gom Jabbar,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at the 40 hours I put into the show that week, or that a week per month, 120 hours of work for that
Yeah.
$800, and it's like, we're at, what is that, 15 an hour, 14 an hour?
Right.
It's not the worst.
Yeah.
But
We're hitting
certainly
minimum wage in some states.
in some states. 2025 goal, minimum wage every state.
Hell
bold.
yeah. Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother. Yeah. So it's like, listen, the numbers, it's all very, my eyes kind of glaze over when it comes to all the numbers. But if that helps, it's like, cool. We're hovering at like, yeah, $14 an hour, something like that, which has been huge. And again, no part of this is boohoo. We're making so little money.
Yeah.
This is like way more successful than we ever thought it would be. We
Way more.
could not do it without you. Literally every contribution matters, and we appreciate it so much, and we don't take any of it for granted. But it is worth stressing that it's, again, we are not sitting on piles of golden
Right.
bars and rubies and sapphires.
That's right.
It is deeply appreciated, and keeps the lights on at the very least.
Yeah, definitely. And, personally for me, it's never really been about the money. We started the show making less than $0. We were putting money and time into it that was losing us money and time. And profitability is great. Getting a little check from Gom Jabbar at the end of a month is great. But for me, as long as the numbers are like going up, that to me is less about like, I need to make more money. And it's more about like, what we're doing is working. What we're doing is valuable.
Yeah.
What we're doing is something that people want to support us and want more of. Those are the metrics of success that matter to me. The extra pocket money is just a nice cherry on top of that.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, you and me both have also like, this is nowhere near something we can do full time as our jobs. You and I, since the show started, have always had day jobs.
Yeah.
To pay for the rest of our lives. And this is something we do in addition to regular 40-hour day jobs.
Yeah. I do have 4 other jobs. I have like a day job and then 3 others. And I'll say to contrast that point, I have a lot of big life changes coming up this year, and I am going to be losing basically my day job for various circumstantial reasons. So you're right. It's never been about the money. And I think if we didn't truly love making this, and if we didn't have the great community that we have, and if it wasn't as fun to do as it is, it would not be where it is today. But I also want to stress that, like, if you are able to contribute financially, my life is going to look very different this time of next year, right? And I think the financial stability of even $800 a month is huge and actually life-changing for me. So just as a side note, as a voice actor and professional singer and game developer now, there's a lot of things that I can control, and I very much cannot control when work arrives and when I get paid and things like that. Having a stable, relatively stable platform of financial support is a pipe dream for many creatives, and that is what this represents for me as well. So it's
Yeah,
not about the money, but good fucking Lord. I'm really, really glad for the money as
right.
well.
But we do live on planet Earth, so
Unfortunate. I
it
keep
ends up
trying
being
to
about the
change
money in
that. I
many
keep trying to
ways.
ascend to a new plane, but I'm still in Brooklyn. Fuck.
Yeah. So there you go. Those are some numbers. And again, if you're a young creator out there, like I for one am very happy to answer any questions you might have that you might feel awkward asking someone else. So like if you want
Yeah,
more info on this, like reach out to us, comjabarpodcast at
for sure.
gmail.com. We have no qualms about, like we're not out here making millions off of this. And even if we were, I think we would be just as transparent. Like I have no qualms about digging further and being even more transparent than this. But this is sort of an inside look of what the numbers look like, what the boring ass spreadsheets that I look at every tax season look like for Gamjabar year to year and month to month.
Yeah, 1,000%. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere, dear listeners. When we're back, we're going to talk about the year ahead. And this is, I think, the most exciting stuff. So
Yes.
definitely, if you've listened this far, what are you doing? Just stay around. We'll be right back right after this.
Welcome back, folks. Let's look ahead. Now that we've looked back at 2024, let's talk 2025 and get into some of our goals. So, as we mentioned, numbers, listenership, audience growth, income, revenue, all of that is a direct way of measuring Gamjabar and the effectiveness of the show and how well we're doing and if we're
Mm-hmm.
providing a service and entertainment to our listeners, all that good stuff. Taking all that into consideration, the team sat down at the start of 2025 and we set some goals for ourselves. We set some expectations for ourselves, and we came up with some ideas that we want to try this year that even in 4 years of making this show, we've not quite dabbled into, that we're quite excited to maybe dip our toes in. So to get into some of those specifics,
Yeah.
we expect 2025 to be a relatively quiet year for the Duneverse as a whole, for the Dune fandom as a whole, because we just came off of a ridiculously crazy year. Dune Part 2, Dune Prophecy, Dune at its peak. And so I think we're going to be in a quiet period. Dune Part 3 / Dune Messiah, the film, doesn't even start filming until later this year. So it's really not until 2026 that we're going to see huge things like Dune, a new Dune movie, and a new season of Dune Prophecy coming out. With that being said, for us, that means that it'll be a quieter year on the numbers front for Gamjabar as well. We're just kind of setting that expectation for ourselves. We don't think we're going to hit 1 million downloads again in 2025, but we are hoping to hit a healthy fraction of that. We're hoping to hit 600,000 downloads over the course of 2025, which divides very nicely over 12 into maintaining our 50,000 download per month average. If we can hit that number every single month, it will be a healthy year for the show.
Yeah.
We're also looking at Patreon numbers. Obviously, in 2024, we had a bunch of new patrons join our community. We're hoping to maintain our patrons through 2025 and increase our patron numbers to 600. Right now, we're hovering around the mid 400s. And so we just want conservative growth over the year. Do we think we're going to double our numbers like we did in 2024? No.
No. Yeah.
But we're hoping for conservative growth and for us to maintain our patrons and hopefully hit 600 by the end of the year. 600 paying subscribers on Patreon, which will continue, again, to build that very strong foundation upon which the show is run.
Right.
Now, speaking of team members, we have Luna on the team, and that is exciting because we get to spread some of the workload around. Luna will be helping us script, research, produce, edit, all the things a producer does. And with that in mind, we're hoping actually to increase how many episodes we put out. So a typical month for Gamjabar is 4 episodes, 1 episode every Friday, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
We're hoping that over the course of the year, we'll slowly ramp up, start introducing a 5th episode every month, and then hopefully get to a place with Luna's help where we can comfortably get out 6 episodes a month. And that just means more Gamjabar for you, more episodes and content for you to enjoy. And a lot of that is going to be informed by that listener survey that we sent out last year to our listeners and our patrons. So we gathered all your feedback, we crunched the numbers, And the episodes that we create this year will be informed by a lot of your responses.
Yes, absolutely. Now, after the partnerships that we had last year, another goal we have. So we partnered with Lego and HBO, and it as it turned out, they actually knocked on our door, which was crazy in both cases.
Right.
So in 2025, we are hoping to get one big sponsorship deal. We don't know what that is going to be, and part of our goal is making it happen, making the connections, reaching out, being active as well. Because as much as there will be those occasional windfalls where people just say, hey, can we give you money to work with you? That's great. We love that.
Yeah.
Can't always rely on that. And so one of our goals is to make a connection and have a big sponsorship deal this coming year. And then finally, we aim to reveal, finally,
a much requested
oh
one.
my God, new Gom Jabbar merchandise.
Yeah, it's time for a refresh of that store.
Yeah, in more ways than one, because ultimately I fucking hate the platform that we're on. Teespring is awful.
Yeah.
But beside Teespring, I've been working on a few designs, and we have some really exciting ideas for new merchandise based on some really excellent suggestions from the community on Discord. This year, our goal, new merch. It's quiet on the outside content stuff, so let's make some original Dune swag.
That's right. And I also wanted to add, we have worked with artists in the past.
Very true.
And commissioned some work for them. And so if you yourself are an artist, or if you know somebody who's an artist, comjabarpodcast@gmail.com. Reach out. Maybe we can work together, and maybe we can throw some money your way to commission some art for us.
Yeah, that would be very, very cool. Now, regarding Patreon, this is my favorite part. We are, again, as we've said 1,000 times, we are immeasurably grateful for your support. So in 2025, we have some plans for new types of offerings that will make your contribution to the show more worthwhile than ever before. So we are not able to set any of this in stone yet, but our production meeting a couple weeks back, we went over some, sky's the limit ideas, and we have rough plans for Dune video game tournaments. Original Dune short stories.
Hello, fan fiction.
And or audio dramas. Yeah, fan fiction. Fuck it. Why not? Set in the Dune universe. And the sleep story that I sent out on Patreon on during the holiday break on Christmas Day, I think, is when I sent it out, is an example of what that might look like.
Yeah. I'm really excited about the audio drama aspect, because there's also a world in which we'd dip our toes into adapting our favorite scenes from the books or something into a little 10, 15-minute audio drama episode with sound design, music, voice actors. My dream is to bring the Duncan and Leto 2 meeting each other for the first time in God Emperor of Dune scene to life in an audio drama for our listeners.
I don't have a penis. Just like a very genuine performance from whoever's voicing Duncan, and then hello,
you doing your
Duncan.
Leto bit.
I know. Or just like the most intense,
yeah.
That's
right. We could recreate. We could bring Fade Rotha /
Fade Elvis Rafa.
Fade Elvis author
Presley.
Yeah. The sky's the limit with that. We certainly want to tell some original audio drama stories that we come up with, that we pour our hearts and souls into writing and creating. But I think it would be fun to adapt some short sections and chapters from the books as well that haven't ever been adapted. Imagine something from Heretics or Chapter House getting adapted in audio format. That would be so fun.
Yeah, I think there's a lot there.
Sky's the limit. I have been drafting. The other night I couldn't sleep, and I started jotting down ideas for a Dune short story. So I'm drafting one right now.
I have half written a new sleep story as well.
Oh shit! Yeah. So this is the part we're really excited about this year, folks. If you can't tell,
We do have the plan. We really enjoyed these kind of like FaceTime calls after the prophecy episodes, and the kind of like really just like hopping in and talking. So we have the plan for more on the fly video content, and then of course more live stream experiences, more chats, more kind of live hangouts with patrons and with people. So those things are all on the board. We've talked about them. We have rough plans for pretty much everything we just talked about.
Yeah.
A one-off D&D campaign we were talking about last night
Yeah.
in a message chat, things like that. So generally, a lot of really great stuff ahead. I do want to wrap up this little point by saying we are going to be using more listener surveys to make
Yes.
sure that what we're offering is in line with what you want from us. So please, if you see a listener survey coming up, please share your perspective.
Yeah, this is really important.
Yes, more listener surveys on the horizon. We've talked about every 6 months. I think even every 3 months, every 4 months, every quarter. I don't know. Well, they'll be coming out as well.
Yeah. And, as a final reminder, if you're hearing this episode and you're feeling like, oh, okay, maybe I am ready to take the plunge into the spice tank and join the Gom Jabbar community, check out the show notes. Just a reminder, we always have links in the show notes on ways to support us and join the community and be a part of our journey. And we encourage you to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's your little behind the scenes look at the numbers of Gom Jabbar and at what 2025 will look like for Gom Jabbar, and a couple of teases at the ideas that we're cooking up and the experiments we're going to try this year during a slower year in the Dune fandom as we wait for the bombshell year that will be 2026, hopefully, with new movie, new season of the show, and who knows what else. I'm sure there's other Dune things in the wings that will be announced. So no greater time to be a Dune fan. We've said that for years, and that continues to be truer and truer every day. And so to wrap up, once again, for the 1001th time, and we will continue to say this for another 1001 times, we want to say thank you.
Yeah.
I at least truly could not have imagined that this is where the show would end up when we started this in 2020. And where we have ended up would not have been possible without the support of our listeners. And that includes folks who are like grizzled veterans who have been with us in the Dune trenches since 2020, up to someone who literally might have joined and hopped in the Discord yesterday because they loved our prophecy coverage or they loved our book clubs on God Emperor of Dune. Every single one of you have been a part of this journey, and it's incredible to have found people who love Dune as much as I do and to be able to do this with you for all these years, Leo. And I hope there are many more years ahead of us.
Yeah, Abu couldn't imagine it going this far. I called it. I was like, oh, this is going to be so fucking successful. I bet we're going to be credited in books. I bet we're going to talk to...
In 2020, you were like, we're going to get a Lego sponsorship. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking?
I was snorting a lot of cinnamon in those days. And all, the future opened up for my mind.
Uh-huh, yeah.
And also everything smells like cinnamon from there on. No, joking aside, yes, absolutely. It is so humbling, and it's probably annoying to hear us like. It's like, yeah, we know what we're doing. We've made the show. We're pretty confident and comfortable at this point in what we do at Gom Jabbar, but it is worth stressing how much it's just talking about this thing that I like, and then the fact that people listen to it, it blows my mind still.
Yeah,
which is wild. So thank you, everybody. And also my friends think I'm obnoxious now because I'll be like, I have a podcast.
Right. Always have to explain. It's not one of those podcasts.
No. Yeah, it is two guys. How did you know?
Yeah, it is two guys.
Okay, yeah. We do make a lot of dick jokes.
Yes.
Okay, but it's really different. It's because, so it's, but it's really different.
It's not your typical podcast, okay?
You haven't seen this before.
Don't put me in that category of podcasts. You have listened to nothing like this before, I promise. Yes, it's two guys!
Yeah, but it is two guys. Yeah. Yes.
Well, friends, there is no real ending. It's just the place where you stop the recording, but this podcast is always one step beyond logic, so help spread the word of Muad'Dib and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And be sure to check out the other shows on the Lord Party Podcast Network on lordparty.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at lore_party. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, whoever controls the podcast controls the universe. We'll see you on the Golden Path.